Hello, everyone. My name is Haitham. I'm the program director here at NUMA, New York. Excited to have you all here with us on the call. We appreciate you joining. We're going to take you through a brief presentation just to tell you a bit more about the program and the areas that we focus on. And then afterwards, we'll have some time for you guys to have questions. I will stop periodically throughout the presentation so that you have some time to ask questions so that we don't go too long without you getting a chance. The way that we'll do questions is through the chat box that you should see on your GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. You'll see a tab, like a drop-down tab that says questions. When you open that up, it will give you the option to type your question into the box and then click send to all. This way we can see it, and then I'll answer the questions as they come in. So feel free to pop them in as we go. Otherwise, I'll kind of stop and give you guys a couple of minutes throughout the presentation. I'm assuming that everyone can see my screen. Just type into the box if you can't, but I'll just get started with the presentation and go from there. So first, what I'll do today is I'll take you through an introduction to NUMA, tell you a bit about our history and all the different offices that we have around the world, talk a bit about the New York ecosystem and our team and how we fit into the New York tech and startup community here, and then go into the details of our startup program, some of the partners that we work with, our alumni companies, and then some more information about some of the other perks and amenities that are part of the program. So first, let me tell you a little bit about NUMA. NUMA has been around for about 17 years now, since around the year 2000. We started in Paris, France, as a community for creatives and entrepreneurs, and quickly became one of the leading pioneers in the French tech ecosystem. We opened the first co-working space in Paris, followed by the first accelerator program in Paris, and have expanded since to 8 countries around the world. We've accelerated over 250 startups. We've done approaching about 100 open innovation programs with our corporate partners, and our team is about 100 and over 100 people working with NUMA around the world. So you can see a bit here some of the locations that we have offices in, as well as the locations where we have partners. So if you see, we started in Paris, and then we expanded to Barcelona, Casablanca, Berlin, Moscow, Bangalore, India, Mexico, and New York. Again, we pride ourselves in what we do with entrepreneurs around the world, and we try our best to create collaborative environments for corporations, startups, and the communities to interact with each other. So you'll see here, these are some of the partners and alumni and some of the offers that we do as a company globally. In New York, what we've done is we've built a startup program that's focused on growth stage startups, and we are bringing them to New York to help them scale in the U.S. market. We work with a number of partners and experts and mentors and get startups set up with the network and the mindset that they need to be successful here in the U.S. And our team is very well connected and very highly experienced within the New York ecosystem. Myself, as the program director, I've started 3 tech companies. I exited one of them, was involved in various different initiatives in the New York ecosystem with the mayor's office and a few other players to open up innovation spaces, and have recently joined the NUMA team to build and grow this program. My colleague Frances, who you heard from earlier, and we're exchanging some emails, is our program manager. She's also very well connected in the New York tech scene and has a lot of experience with these types of programs, and helps us really manage our expert and our mentor network, which is one of the most valuable assets that we are able to offer you. So you'll be working with Francis and I most closely, and then Aviva joined us from Paris. She she's been with NUMA for about 4.5 years and has helped NUMA expand into different countries. So she's very well versed in expanding into new markets and creating partnerships and bridges between countries. So some of the issues that we've uncovered from speaking to a lot of our alumni, and part of the reason why the New York program was established is that many of the companies that we've accelerated have come to the U.S. and have found it to be very expensive and very complicated sometimes, depending on the product and the competition in the market. Whereas they spend a lot of time trying to connect with customers, not necessarily understanding the exact way to navigate certain corporate structures in the U.S., not adapting their pitches too quickly, deciding to hire somebody locally without really understanding the local market themselves and building up their own processes, and having issues with retaining talent and as such being very, very expensive, both time-wise and money-wise, when trying to enter the U.S. Some of the options that we have identified for startups who are facing those issues are public agencies that you might recognize, like the French embassy or the German embassies, etc., that do offer services to help solve some of those issues. They take flat fees. It's about a 4 to 6 month program, and they help primarily with like legal setup and things like that. You have fast kind of 1 or 2 week boot camps that are designed for earlier stage companies that are just looking to get inspired and get some education. You have accelerators that take equity and are about 3 months, that are also more focused on product development and not so much as business and market development as we are, and the corporate banks that offer similar services to the agencies. What we've done at NUMA is we've offered a flexible way for startups to scale in the US market, either through a flat fee where they are paying for the program, or through warrants where we are actually taking options to invest in the startups after they go through our program. We're one of the first that we've identified that have taken on this model, and one of the things that we are going to talk about today is how we really try to differentiate ourselves by choosing an area of focus with you that we focus on throughout the program to make sure that we are focusing our efforts in the right place, and that based on the feedback from our team and your team and our mentors and experts, that we are identifying a clear roadmap for you throughout the program that we can go back to when the program is over and quantify the results. So this is a bit about the New York startup ecosystem. As I'm sure you've heard, you know, we are very proud in New York to be one of the business capitals of the world. We have been rated arguably #2 next to Silicon Valley. One of the main differences that we see between New York and Silicon Valley, for one, most decision makers, especially for B2B startups, are here in New York. So we have every industry ranging from fashion to finance and food and real estate, and really all the access that you would need to the key people that will help you grow your business are here. Whereas Silicon Valley is good, really good for engineering focused startups that maybe are really just focused on developing product and kind of scaling to those you know, hundreds of millions of users, but we see that business in New York is much more accessible. So we have about 20,000 or so startups across various different industries. Some of the best support infrastructures when it comes to startup communities and things like that, it gives us an opportunity to not only scale within the U.S. market, but actually take some of those successes and then scale it back to either your home country or other countries around the world. So next, I'm sure you have questions now about, you know, what the program actually is. So what I'll do now is kind of take you through the program at a high level, and then give you a chance to ask questions after we start getting into some of the more specific areas of focus. Is the audio up yet? People hear me? So I got a question that said, is the audio up yet? Which, there we go. Is the program only focused at growth stage startups or early pre-revenue? Okay, good question, and actually exactly what I was going to talk about next. The program is aimed towards startups who have at least 500K in US dollars in cash or funding. We find that the sweet spot is between 500K to $1 million and about 8 months of runway budgeted for here in the United States in order to be able to test the market most effectively. We are looking for startups that have traction in global markets. So this program is not focused on helping you develop your product. It's really focused on helping you develop your business. So the assumption is that you would have come in with the tests and the results that you have from testing your product in different markets and have some idea of your sales process already, so that we can take that and adapt it to the U.S. market and help you scale it. The other thing to take note is that we do require that at least one person, up to 2 of you, are actually spending time here in New York during the program. So we're going to be doing a lot of in-person events, a lot of mentor sessions, a lot of customer introductions. So you really need to be here in order to get the most impact from the program. So that's another thing to definitely keep in mind while deciding if this is the right fit for you. So does that answer your question? Are there any other questions about the criteria itself and like the types of startups that we're looking for? Okay, so then I'll go through the program now to kind of give you an overview of it. So basically the program itself is a total of 10 weeks long. The first 2 weeks is a core program that all of the startups go through. We'll be accepting about 5 startups for the September 2017 season. All 5 startups will be going through an intense immersion into the local ecosystem. So we'll start to understand where you are, things that are relevant to your industry. For example, if you're selling by neighborhood, if you need to understand where the major retailers are, if you need to understand where maybe the big financial firms are, etc. We'll give you a lay of the land, kind of understand where you are here in New York. You'll start to meet with key leaders and experts from our ecosystem and start to become a real part of the community and start to forge those types of relationships. We will make sure that your business is set up correctly from a legal standpoint, tax and hiring, and much of this we'll be speaking about through the selection process. But we do another audit just to make sure that if you were to hire people in the U.S., for example, that you have the correct structure set up. We'll do a quick audit again of your branding and product market fit and see if there are any messaging or any translation issues that we need to take a look at. Start to give you some key insights on the US market just to give you a nice culture, some nice cultural insight from our side. I think something that's very underestimated when entering into a new market. And then again, this is something that we'd be doing throughout the application process, but we'll take a look again at some of your key strengths, your needs, your challenges, where you want to focus for the program, start building out a detailed roadmap for the program, and then meeting with mentors to understand whether we are setting the right metrics, for example, looking at the right KPIs, and starting to really build out what it is that we want to focus on for the rest of the time here in New York. So after that first 2-week program, then that's when we choose an area of focus with you that lasts about 8 weeks, and those areas that we choose from are B2B sales, B2C user acquisition, or raising money from US investors. So depending on the stage of your company, the industry that you're in, and your business model, you would fall under one of these buckets. And we will make sure that we are choosing the right area for you. And there are situations where perhaps we'll have a couple of investor meetings during the sales track, or there's some marketing and digital marketing, material that's identified that we'll do during the sales track. But the idea is that we are doing our best to focus on one area so that we can be the most effective there, and that you have something to take back and scale with your team. So I'll go through each of the tracks now, and then I will stop after and see if anybody has any questions. So the sales track, which is for B2B startups that are selling to businesses. For the first week of the program, what we would do is again, a lot of this we'd be doing beforehand, but we will re-challenge your P&L, your pricing, your packages, the way that they're presented to the customer, and what are some of the things that you had success with, just to bring everybody up to speed on the same page. We will meet with mentors who would be entrepreneurs or investors who have either built or helped to advise companies that have similar business models to you. So not necessarily companies that are selling to the same type of product, but maybe they're selling to the same type of customer, and they understand how to navigate agencies, or they understand how to, identify Series B startups and or influencers online, or people that you're looking to connect with. We are going to connect you with them so that you can get some insight from them. We'll start building out your revenue targets, your KPIs for the program. We'll start meeting with experts within your industry to make sure that your value proposition is most effectively positioned against your competition, and then we'll start to formulate a strategy that we are going to want to test throughout our program. The second week is where we start to really take the feedback that we got from the first week and build your customer profiles and identify who within our network we will introduce you to, and also start to build prospect lists and create the lead generation engine that you will have running in the background to begin bringing your leads and building up your customer databases. For example, we're about 2 weeks in with the startup we're working in right now, and we have about 3,000 leads that they've identified as fits their customer profile that we built with them, and we're doing a workshop with them this Friday to teach them how to build those leads themselves in the future. So you'll go through some of those types of workshops, etc., to help you actually set up your processes. And then by the end of the second week, we will have a nice target list of customers that we want to contact. The last 6 weeks of the sales track is focused on execution. So much of the program is with our guidance and meeting with our experts. You're only spending maybe about 20 to 25% of your week with us. The rest of the time is really focused on execution and running your day-to-day business. Being that you are all growth stage and mature startups, we're not looking to structure your day in any way. There is a time commitment for the program, but it's meant to overlap with things that you're doing and add value to some of the goals that you are already pursuing. So the 6 weeks is really focused on getting you in front of the right customers, doing some more pitch coaching, refining your pitch, us joining some of the pitches and learning and starting to build out what your sales roadmap looks like and how you take a customer from lead to close, and also meeting with coaches throughout the time and customers that will help you set up pilots or do some trials with your product. The relationships that we would introduce you to, much of them are kind of already established beforehand, but we also do a lot of custom introductions based on what you're looking for. So these are some examples of the mentors that we currently have in the program. But again, as we start to learn more about your business model and the industry that you're in, our database is well over 100 or so mentors that we match with the startups, and some of them can go on to be your mentors and advisors after the program, or some of them can just be like a one-off kind of consultation as part of our program. The same goes with customers. So we have customers from many different areas, from media to real estate to retail to high growth companies, to enterprise, corporate, etc. So based on who your target customer profile is, we have the connections as a team to be able to connect you with them. And that's, again, how I mentioned before, that's kind of one of our most valuable assets is the deep trusted relationships that we have here in New York. So that is the sales track kind of overview, and I'll just stop right now for a minute and see if anybody has any questions about the sales track specifically. All right, the presentation is really good then, I guess. Okay, great. So next we'll go through the user acquisition track. So this again is based on B2C startups that are looking to get users, whether it's through an app or through a community website. This is focused more on marketing rather than sales. So again, we'll go through a similar 1 week where you meet with experts, mentors that are validating your market materials, validating your KPIs, and some of the strategies that you've been using, what has been successful for you, whether it was SEO or content marketing or email marketing or events or influencer marketing, etc. We'll start to identify all the different channels that you can use and begin to narrow down the channels that we actually want to test through the program. And during the second week is where we'll really refine those profiles, set up those tools, connect you with partners that we have in our program, whether it's like technical partners that we have that can connect you with software, or thought leaders that are very well versed in this type of marketing, and or entrepreneurs that have built, like for example, like the CEO of Foursquare is has some really interesting stories about how he was doing some growth hacking and getting users early on. So you'll get to gain some of that insight, and we'll actually start to build out your marketing process with you. And over the last 6 weeks, executing and testing and iterating on that strategy so that we come up with the best process through the end of the program that you can take back to your team and scale. Some of the mentors in that area, as I mentioned, like Dennis Crowley, Carlene Pan is very well versed as well in growth hacking and user acquisition, and we have many other mentors that we can introduce you to. Any questions about the B2C marketing track? Okay, cool. So what we'll do now is go through the raising investment track, which is actually very similar to the sales track, except instead of customers, it would be investors. So we'll sit with you and we'll validate your pitch. We'll look at the market. We'll understand who the investors are out there that are right for you. Are you raising the right amount of money? What are you using the money for? We'll just challenge you on those things. Again, depending on the maturity of where you are in the process, you might benefit from getting some of those insights, or you might benefit more from getting introductions. So what we would do is set up your investor profile, set up your tools and different processes that we'll use, identify the warm introductions, and start to build out a target list of investors that we'll want to reach out to. And then during the last 6 weeks, we'll start to actually introduce you to those investors. You can start to build those relationships, understand what are the questions and objections that they might have, and start to tailor your pitch so that by the end of the program, you will have not only refined your pitch and gotten very, very good at it, you will have actually started to build relationships with investors who are able to either put in funding or advisors, or have connections for you help you with business. Investors that we have here, then we have probably over 100 or so investors we can reach out to at any point in time that are part of our program. So again, the idea is not necessarily to have you be working in our program all the time. The idea is to have time for you to actually get things done and have time to meet with mentors, but also most of, again, the execution is coming from your side, and we are here to guide you and make sure that instead of taking 6 months to test the US market or 8 months and a lot of money, that we'd be able to test it in 10 weeks with a lot less money and start to get those successes a lot faster. And by the end of the program, you will have a process that you can now repeat and scale, or take back to your teams and repeat and scale, or at the very least understand who it is that you need to hire next and what is the role that you need to hire for within a short amount of time. With our guidance, we found that to be very effective, especially for overseas startups that are coming into a new market like New York. Any questions on that part, on the raising money or the program itself? Because next is I'll go through some of the next steps and how you can apply. Okay, cool. So some of the next steps and some other criteria that you and conditions that you'll want to know about. First, in order of having to things ready for the program, so a lot of these will help you, identify where there are gaps and help you build some of these things. But we're looking at the competitors analysis, market test results, any industry insights or averages or certain metrics that you've been following, like your customer acquisition costs or your conversion rates. Like all these things will really help us build out the best program. With every startup that we work with, we have a roadmap template that we fill out to help us set your short, medium, and long-term goals and make sure that throughout the program we are, again, working alongside you to help you meet the goals that you already set for yourself, and perhaps we have also set with you through the application process. The program, we have two options to participate in the program. One option is a flat fee, so that is $25,000 US for the 10-week program. The other option is warrants, which give us the option to purchase a number of shares in your startup after the program is over. It would be one or the other. It's not both. So it really depends on your preferences, your level of funding, your current cap table. This is something that we are able to determine with you through the selection process what is the best model for us. So again, by the end of the program, our goal is to make sure that you are have reached or are much, much closer to reaching the goals that you've set out, that you have a process that you can take back to your team to repeat and scale, that you understand where your needs are in terms of hiring, that you are immersed into the local New York ecosystem and you're becoming one of the part of the culture here, and that you are gaining traction and that you're understanding what your conversion cycle is, and are in a position that you can continue to scale in New York and around the US and ultimately around the world. Are there any questions at this point about the conditions or the pre-deliverables for the program, etc.? Alrighty. Cool. So next, just talk a little bit about the amenities and some of the other things. So we are right now in the Alley, which is one of the most popular shared creative community office spaces in New York City. We have about, but now actually it was about 44,000 square feet, but we just opened up the second floor with Verizon, which is going to add another 16,000 or so square feet. So I think it's about 60,000 square feet at this point of space where you will have access to. So each startup has 2 desks that are included as part of the program. To be able to work from here, you'll have access to the events that are here in the space. You also have access to our perks. So we have partnerships with like Amazon Web Services and Salesforce and other software that you can use to help grow your business. All of that is part of our program, as well as the media partnerships and the reach of our own marketing. So at any point in time, we can reach anywhere from 50,000 people to a few million people, depending on the scope of the campaign. Some of the partners we work with, again, this is all kind of curated based on the focus of our startups, but again, these are many different communities and companies that we have relationships with here in New York that you will also be interacting with throughout the program. These are some of our alumni who you might recognize that have either raised money or had successful exits. We're proud to say that our survival rate is 85% after 4 years, which is extremely high for an accelerator. So now we're excited to launch our second edition of our growth stage program, which is going to be beginning this September. And that's it. So again, the application is on newyork.numa.co/startups. You can go on there. You can see all this information. I believe you have the link to this deck. If not, we can send it out to you after this call. And then I'll open it up right now just really quickly to some questions. Otherwise, that would be the end of our session. Any questions now that we're at the end? Again, if you wanted to ask questions, you'll see that on your GoToWebinar control panel, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs down, you'll see questions. Just click that drop down, and you'll be able to type your questions and send it out to us. All right, so with that, you guys can take down my email if you wanted to follow up. We'll send a follow-up email with links for the application and the deck. And we thank you for joining us this morning or evening, depending on where you are. And we hope to see you here in New York very soon.